Hey y'all, Little Drummer Boy here, and today I want to do an RIP to Little Richard. Little Richard was one of the greats of rock and roll, the original first generation 50s rockers with Elvis, Chuck Berry, Jerry Lee Lewis, Buddy Holly, and the likes. Little Richard was born in Macon, Georgia, December 5th, 1932, and when he was around 15, 16 years old, his dad kicked him out of the house for being homosexual, and he went on the streets. He went to live with the white family, and later he wrote a song called Tutti Frutti that he said he performed a lot of years before it was ever recorded, and that was his first hit. It was recorded in 1955, right near the beginning of rock and roll. And of course, he was a pianist. He played piano a lot like Jerry Lee Lewis, but maybe not quite as flashy. And he said he was more of a pounder, not quite as intricate as Jerry Lee Lewis. But anyway, he by 1957, Little Richard was right. He was like on par with Elvis, Jerry Lee Lewis, Buddy Holly, Chuck Berry. He was among. He was like even with the top dogs in rock and roll in 1957. But he had a dream that his airplane engine was on fire, and he had a dream that he went to hell. And he grew up in a Baptist church in Macon, and he said that after that dream, he gave it all up. I mean, he quit. He's one of the rock stars that Jesus called at the top of his career. He was as big as Elvis, and he quit overnight and went to Bible college, and he repented, and he said that he famously said God made Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. So he repented from his homosexuality. Those who think you're born that way, no, it's not. There's been lots of people that Jesus Christ has led out of that lifestyle. So Little Richard is one of them, prime example, best one I can think of probably. And so anyway, he began preaching the gospel, became an evangelist. In the 60s, he was needing money. He was needing to make a living, so he went back into rock and roll for a while. Jimi Hendrix played in his mid-60s band, and he was his guitarist. He fired Jimi Hendrix for being late for a bus one time. And also the Beatles, the Beach Boys, and the Rolling Stones all opened for Little Richard in the 60s. Now in the 70s, he backslid. A lot of us Christians, a lot of us people in recovery, we backslide because it's hard to be Christ-like every day of your life. It's hard to be Christ-like every year of your life, and we go through changes. And I just read in the Bible today that the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. We have that spiritual warfare going on inside us all the time. If you're a Christian, you've got the Holy Spirit trying to get you to do the right thing, and the flesh, which isn't saved, the carnal nature, trying to get you to rebel against God and do the wrong thing always. So anyway, in the 70s, he got bad into drugs. He said that he was into PCP, heroin, cocaine, and but he said on his birthday, December 5th, one of his friends who he's going to buy cocaine from fell dead. And he said he had another friend that was chopped up and put in a car trunk. And he said he had another friend at his brother at an Ike Tina Turner party in Miami dropped dead. And after 4 of his friends and family dropped dead, he repented and came back to Christ. And he said, I just wanted to give my all to Jesus. He quoted where Jesus said, "What shall it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul?" And I just saw an awesome interview last night. Check it out. I think it was May 4th, 1982, 38 years ago, when he was 49 going on 50. May 4th, 1982, Little Richard was on David Letterman. And man, it was phenomenal. I mean, he said that God made Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. He told, I mean, he blew. You could tell he blew David Letterman's mind. He said, "I used to be gay, but I'm not gay now. God has delivered me from that." When Letterman showed an old 1975 clip of him doing a Beatles song. I think We're Alone Now. And he was all pretty much in drag and makeup with the big hair and stuff. Wasn't wearing a dress, but Little Richard, he kind of was in. He was androgynous in drag way before David Bowie. And he asked Little Richard what he thought of that. He said, "Man, I am so glad God cleaned me up." He said, "I did not know I looked like that." and so on this video, David Letterman really wasn't funny. He was kind of taken aback by it all. But Little Richard not only explained the truth of the gospel to the Letterman and the world, but he was freaking hilarious, man. I mean, everything he said, except for the serious stuff about the gospel, was just, I mean, he could have been a stand-up comedian himself. He was so funny. And then at the end, he sang the most soulful, best version of One Day at a Time I've ever heard. And he had a Fender Stratocaster slide guitar on it. And it was just the bomb. And the crowd was going nuts. And Letterman clapped a little bit and sipped his coffee. I don't think he liked that a gospel song got such attention on his show, because the crowd was going nuts for how well Little Richard sang One Day at a Time. And for those of us in recovery, that's how we have to take it, one day at a time for everybody. It's one day at a time. Tomorrow is gone. Yesterday's gone. You're not promised tomorrow. So live in today and concentrate on being your best self today. And so anyway, last Saturday, Little Richard, he made it his ascension, man. He went to be with the Lord at 87 years old. God blessed him with a great life. So not only check out Little Richard on David Letterman, May 4th, 1982, but check out Little Richard's last message. Look up Little Richard's last message on YouTube, or Little Richard's 2017 on YouTube. And he is at a Seventh-day Adventist church. He grew up Baptist, but he was saved into the Seventh-day Adventist denomination. He's in a Seventh-day Adventist church, and he's in his wheelchair giving his testimony 3 years ago, and it's pretty flippin' awesome. And if you're a Christian, please share it and share the Letterman interview, because it's a great witnessing tool. God gave the guy a great pedestal and a great testimony. If God can save and change Little Richard, he can save and change anybody. David Letterman's like, wait a minute. You said you used to be gay, but you're not now? He said, yeah. He said, for the first time in my life, I'm a man. I know how you feel now. And Letterman didn't know what to say, But anyway, yeah, Little Richard, and he had, such great hits: Tutti Frutti, Long Tall Sally, Lucille, You Just Won't Do Your Uncle's Will, about marrying him, and man, he called himself the architect of rock and roll. Elvis had the voice, he had the baritone. Chuck Berry was the first guitar hero of rock and roll. And Little Richard was just like, he was like the Flair of rock and roll. So I'm wearing my Flair hair today in his memory, and I look forward to meeting him with him and jamming with him someday. Y'all, Jerry Lee Lewis is the only mega 50s rocker, the only 50s rock, original rock superstar we have left. So pray for Jerry Lee. And of course, he was upset that his friend Little Richard passed away. But yeah, our musical heroes are flying by. Our World War II heroes, Korea, Vietnam heroes, they're dying off, and there's very few World War II veterans left. And now, the 50s rockers are all dying off except for Jerry Lee. So anyway, work in peace, Little Richard. The Bible's clear that we don't, rest in peace. Rest in peace is a figure of speech. And we will rest in heaven. It's going to be great. But Adam and Eve had a job in the garden before the fall, before sin. They tended the garden. And the Bible's clear that we're going to have jobs in heaven as well. We're going to work in heaven, but it's going to be enjoyable work, and the labor and toil of it is going to be taken away. We're going to love whatever we do for Jesus in heaven. So work in peace, Little Richard. I look forward to meeting you someday and to jamming with you in that heavenly orchestra, the real big band. Peace, y'all. If you like my content, give me a thumbs up, like, share, and subscribe. Little Drummer Boy. Peace.